Thousands pay tribute as Queen prepares national address. Blair will help monitor a Middle East ceasefire. And Leeds beat Sunderland to keep European hopes alive.
The ITV Weekend News with Katie Derham.
Good evening. The public are still paying their respects to the Queen Mother tonight, nearly 2.5 days after her coffin was placed in Westminster Hall. At one stage today, the queues of people waiting their turn stretched for over 2 miles along the banks of the River Thames. Prince Andrew, visiting the crowds, told them he was overwhelmed by the turnout. Tomorrow, the Queen is expected to address the nation with her own tribute to her mother. Juliet Bremner reports.
Journey's End. The long wait is finally over as mourners tonight reached Westminster Hall. For many, it's been a full day's work, but one cheerfully undertaken. Even as the queue stretched for over 2 miles along the banks of the Thames and they listened to dire warnings of delays lasting up to 9 hours, they refused to be daunted. Their determination and stoicism were saluted by the Duke of York, who together with his daughters laughed and joked with people about just how vast the crowds were and how long everyone had waited to honour his grandmother. Tomorrow, the Queen is planning to pay her own tribute to her mother when she addresses the nation. She'll also use the occasion to thank the public for such unstinting support. This weekend, an estimated 200,000 people have filed past the coffin. The hall will stay open 22 hours a day, but staff say there has to be a cut-off point.
The message for the public is it will close finally, no flexibility, 6 o'clock Tuesday morning.
Having already visited the hall, the Kenny family today became the first to pitch their tent outside the Abbey, ready for the funeral.
The queue does now seem to be moving faster, but by the time people reach this stage within sight of Westminster, they've still been waiting for several hours. But they're well prepared and happy simply to be a part of an historical event.
With only one full day now remaining before the doors close, the race is on to ensure all those wanting to share that experience are allowed to do so. Juliet Bremner, ITV News, Westminster.
A picture of the Queen Mother as funny and kind was painted today by Princes William and Harry. In a rare interview, the princes said their great-grandmother loved a joke, on one occasion even impersonating the comedian Ali G. Here's Tom Bradby.
It's not yet been confirmed, but it now appears likely that the Queen will broadcast an address to the country tomorrow in advance of her mother's funeral. If some of the tributes this week have been emotional, Princes William and Harry recall the Queen Mother's lighter side in a rare interview. This was one of the Queen Mother's favourite pictures of a young Prince William, and he told the Press Association she loved a good laugh, even if the joke was about her. She had such a young sense of humour. Every single thing that went wrong or was funny for any reason, she laughed herself stupid about it. It kept us all sane. William and Harry recalled how they taught her to mimic the comic Ali G's trademark click of the fingers and tried to teach her about some of the inventions of modern life, like the mobile phone. Prince William said he'd been to lunch with her before going to university for the first time. Any good party, she told him, invite me down. This has been a week of personal tributes by members of the Windsor family, but many people from all walks of life who knew the Queen Mother best agree that she was tough, determined, generous and funny. Tom Bradby, ITV News at St James's Palace.
Well, live now to Nicholas Owen, who's near Westminster Hall. Nick, the queues do finally appear to be ebbing away tonight.
I don't know about ebbing away. They're certainly much shorter than they were. I think that those joining the back of it now much closer to where we are, still going to have to wait an hour or so. It remains to be seen whether those queues will go on through the night. As we've been hearing, the hall will be closed early tomorrow morning for various things to be done. Open up again during the day tomorrow, and then there will be a final shutdown early on Tuesday morning. It's got to shut down then, of course, the day of the funeral.
Now, Nick, what do we know about the address the Queen's expected to make tomorrow?
Well, we mentioned this last night. I have to say it's still at the stage, I gather, of everybody hoping that it's going to take place. Not finally decided. If it does, the Queen will be at Windsor Castle for it. She's expected in it to give thanks for the life of her mother, also to express thanks for all the support and sympathy that the royal family has received, and also, if it's possible, to set the tone for that funeral service on Tuesday, which starts at about 11:30, and the Queen Mother's body will finally return to Windsor somewhere around 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Nick, thank you. Tony Blair has said tonight that international observers from countries including Britain could be sent to monitor a Middle East ceasefire. Speaking after his summit meeting with President Bush, Mr. Blair said the situation is now so grim that only external assistance can help. From Texas, here's John Sargent.
Tony Blair's Middle East initiative came in a speech at the end of his Texas visit in the library dedicated to the president's father. George Bush Sr. was president during the Gulf War. Mr. Blair declared that it was not yet time to take decisions about Saddam Hussein, and he concentrated instead on a proposal which has been backed by President Bush and discussed with European leaders. Civilian monitors from Britain and other countries would check that a withdrawal of Israeli forces had taken place and ensure that the Palestinian leadership was working to preserve the ceasefire.
In monitoring any such ceasefire and in ensuring that the Palestinian Authority genuinely take action against the terrorists, we and others stand ready to help in any way that we can.
The idea would be to return as quickly as possible to a peace process. This would aim to secure Israel's borders and establish a viable Palestinian state.
I know the deep-rooted objections to any outside help, but when the situation is as grim as it is now, only some external assistance can establish the minimum trust to get security back on the agenda in a realistic way. And without a proper ceasefire, we can't even take the first steps.
Tony Blair believes that his Northern Ireland experience is highly relevant. If there isn't a ceasefire and a proper political process, then the moderates are ignored and the extremists hold sway. Everyone must agree that in this complicated situation, a military solution is simply not possible. John Sargent, ITV News, at the George Bush Library in Texas.
Despite the calls for an end to the violence, Israel has refused to withdraw its forces from Palestinian towns. It's been another day of fierce fighting in the West Bank as the Israeli army continues its campaign to stamp out terrorism. At least 14 Palestinians have been killed in the town of Nablus. Police searching for the missing schoolgirl, Amanda Dowler, said tonight they've received a significant number of calls after they released CCTV footage of her last known movements. Amanda, known to her family as Millie, hasn't been seen since she disappeared on her way home more than 2 weeks ago. From Surrey, here's Helen Wright.
The footage shows Millie leaving school in Weybridge after a science class. Tomorrow her friends will return to a new term without her. Another set of CCTV cameras at Weybridge Station also filmed Millie 15 minutes after she left school, waiting for a train home with a friend. Detectives hope these images of the teenager, taken less than an hour before she vanished, will encourage new witnesses to come forward. It's now 2.5 weeks since Millie disappeared, walking home along a busy road. There have been 3 reported sightings of her along the route, but only one has so far been confirmed as Millie. 100 police officers are now working on the case, one team today searching woodland for any sign of her. As the search for Millie's belongings continues over an ever wider area, police say they're treating her disappearance as a critical incident, and they hope releasing the CCTV pictures will jog someone's memory and provide them with the breakthrough this inquiry urgently needs. Helen Wright, ITV News, Surrey.
Football and Leeds United have kept alive their hopes of playing in Europe next season with a 2-0 Premiership victory over Sunderland. An own goal gave Leeds an early lead and a late strike by Robbie Keane sealed the victory. Alex Thomas watched the action.
Leeds United are working hard to finish what's been a disappointing season strongly. And they opened the scoring against relegation-threatened Sunderland in the 8th minute. Alan Smith crossed and the unfortunate Jody Craddock deflected the ball into his own net. The Sunderland defender had to try and intercept the pass, and it was just bad luck that his effort resulted in a goal for the opposition. Leeds, though, missed some good chances to capitalise on that slice of fortune before half-time. And after the break, the home side continued to push forward without success. Luckily for them, Sunderland's shooting was just as wild. And Leeds eventually put the result beyond doubt with a late goal from Robbie Keane. Final score, Leeds 2, Sunderland 0. Alex Thomas, ITV News.
Before we go, a reminder of a special programme about the Queen Mother here on ITV1 tomorrow night. Presented by Jonathan Dimbleby, The Nation Pays Its Respects will look back on the Queen Mother's lying in state and ahead to her funeral on Tuesday. For now, though, from everyone here on the ITV Weekend News, bye-bye.
PowerGen, controlling energy for homes and business.
Hello, good evening. It has been another glorious spring day across most of Britain today. There may be more cloud around over the next few days, but for many of us the weather is staying very settled, especially across England and Wales. Lots of dry and bright weather. Weak weather fronts coming into the northwest over the next couple of days, so patchy rain there, but for most of us it's set fair, fine and dry. But cold at night. There'll be some cloud around in the southeast that may keep the frost at bay, and the same will happen in the northwest. But for the rest of us, clear skies overnight, and that's going to let the temperatures fall quite sharply. So a touch of ground frost around tonight, maybe even a bit of air frost, with air temperatures close to or just a touch below freezing. So a chilly night across most of Britain tonight. And then tomorrow, a fine day by and large. There's a very weak weather front just drifting in from the northwest, so a patch of cloud across the northwest, maybe a very light shower from that, and some low cloud in the southeast to start the day as well. Neither of those things will last very long. The weather front gets even weaker, the low cloud in the southeast disappears, so everybody ends up with another dry day with some good sunny spells through the day tomorrow. Temperatures after that cold start, remember, they will recover up to around 13, maybe 14 in the afternoon. 14 would be 57 Fahrenheit. Good night.
PowerGen, controlling energy for homes and business.
67,000 fans saw Beckham score that goal that got England into the World Cup. Big crowd, big result. GMTV scores 5 million viewers every morning. 5 million watch the GMTV winning team. Now that's an impressive result.
Good evening. Here in the Anglia region, it's a cloudy picture towards the coast as cloud continues to roll in off the North Sea, but it's keeping temperatures up at around 4 or 5 degrees, clearer skies further west, and here just a touch of frost is possible as lows fall close to freezing. Well, tomorrow will start rather grey in places, perhaps the odd spot of drizzle around, but it will be dry in the main with some bright spells developing. By the afternoon, some patchy cloud is looking likely, especially in the east, but the sun should help to break this up in most places, so it really should become quite pleasant. Remaining cool though, especially on the coast where the fresh northeasterly winds will restrict temperatures to around 8 Celsius. However, in more sheltered spots well inland, a more average 12 Celsius, 54 Fahrenheit is looking likely. So in summary then, dry but chilly tonight, and then tomorrow mostly sunny but cloudier towards the coast. And that's it from all of us here. Have a very good night. Goodbye.